So yesterday, I gave you guys a rundown on the brand new Fortification system coming to Battlefield 5 alongside some cut-up multiplayer gameplay. Today, I'm going to round up 7 new details about the game that you guys need to know about. All of this gameplay was captured at EA Play as part of an early access recording event, so a big thanks to EA for flying me out to Los Angeles so I could get hands-on with the game early. But without further ado, let's dig into these 7 brand new details. First of all, let's discuss Battlefield 5's game modes. DICE officially confirmed all that will be arriving at launch, and it's worth giving them a quick rundown. First, Conquest and Conquest Assault are making a return. Classic Battlefield game modes restored to their former glory by re-implementing the majority rule system to the game mode. This was last present in Battlefield 4, and it creates a tug-of-war style system over the score of the game, where if one team holds more flags than the other, the losing team starts to bleed reinforcements. Frontlines and Operations are making a return in Battlefield 5, with Operations being renamed to Breakthrough as to not conflict with the new large-scale experience called Grand Operations. Frontlines is essentially the same, but with the final rush-style objectives being replaced with strategic objectives vulnerable to planted explosives, according to DICE. Sounds a little bit more like Battlefield 4's Obliteration game mode. Breakthrough is operations from Battlefield 1, sector-based combat with the attacking team pushing through the map against the defending team. Since I mentioned Grand Operations, it's worth mentioning 2 game modes only present within this new modular experience: Airborne and Final Stand. Airborne centres around a group of artillery cannons that the attacking team will have to try and destroy, whilst the defenders try to prevent this from happening. The attackers enter the action from waves of airplanes, and each attacker decides when and where they want to eject. Defenders need to stop the attackers destroying all the artillery cannons until the attackers' reinforcements are fully depleted. Now, Final Stand is the game mode that DICE has added to Grand Operations as a potential decider. This will occur on the 4th day within the operation, should the operation get to that point, and it pits all 64 players onto the map at once to fight for their team with just 1 life. This is an elimination-style game mode. Whoever the last person standing is wins the match entirely for their team. DICE envisions Final Stand being triggered once every 3 or 4 times that you play through a grand operation. Lastly, we have 2 smaller game modes coming to Battlefield 5, Domination and Team Deathmatch. These are really staples of any multiplayer shooter nowadays, and they offer that scaled-down infantry combat that some people are looking for. You may have noticed, Rush is absent from this list of game modes. It's not a game mode coming with Battlefield 5, although, having put that out there on Twitter, it did seem that Alex Grondal from DICE was suggesting that the mode isn't gone for good. It just seems to be taking a vacation. Next, moving on from game modes, we're going to talk about the gunplay in Battlefield 5. Now, I covered this in a video not too long ago with information that we had from the reveal of the game, but now, after EA Play, I have a lot more specific information for you, and considering you spend most of your time in Battlefield games with a gun in your hand, I think this information is really important to get out there, so I'm going to go over everything that I've learned from EA Play, so hopefully you guys can have a really good idea about how the gunplay is going to perform in this brand new game. Let's start off then with Suppression. It's changing in a big way in Battlefield 5. No longer will Suppression interfere with the statistics of your weapons when it's active. It's going to be a purely visual effect in this brand new game. Now, DICE has said this is still a work-in-progress feature, and it's likely to change moving forward, but they've stated their intent is for the mechanic to be visual only. On the subject of weapon accuracy, a big issue for some players in Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 is placing way more importance on aiming down the sights of your weapon. It's down to you to detect at what point each weapon's accuracy ends up changing. In Battlefield 5, the spread of your weapon is converted to recoil, but the spread does still exist in the game. This results in weapons feeling a lot more predictable and having predictable patterns rather than just jumping randomly across the cone of fire with each bullet that ends up leaving the barrel. Now for sniper rifles, the accuracy of the weapon is reflected in the sight. If the crosshairs of the scope are perfectly visible, your weapon will fire as accurately as its stats allow. If they're blurred, this occurs when you move around a little bit, then your shot won't be as accurate. With weapons then being more accurate than they were in previous games, DICE is looking to encourage burst fire and less spray and pray tactics. ADS will be more desirable when shooting at targets further away. You should adopt a different shooting style so that you can keep your shots on target. There is going to be more bullet drop on sniper rifles, although in my limited time with the game so far, I didn't really feel that that was the case. Maybe I was just sniping at too closer distances, I'm not really sure. And semi-auto rifles don't have any spread increase per shot anymore. That results in sustained accuracy when firing shot after shot. In Battlefield 1, the SLRs in that game were inherently inaccurate until DICE did a big weapon balance update and changed how they work, but even then, there was still spread increase per shot. In Battlefield 5, the semi-auto rifles aren't going to have any of that, which is really good for accuracy purposes. Now earlier I mentioned predictable patterns. DICE has given us more information about the recoil patterns of the weapons in the game. These patterns are not pinpoint accurate, but they serve as a means to give each weapon a certain tendency. Whether a weapon is going to pull to the left, pull to the right, upwards, or just sits flat in the middle. Essentially, DICE is bringing back a system that closely resembles Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, which is perfectly fine in my book. Jumping and firing your weapon at the same time is possible again in Battlefield 5, but as I've explained in the past, you can only start shooting once you've passed the apex of the jump and you're coming back down. DICE has now stated that of course your accuracy will be heavily affected when shooting and jumping at the same time, and that penalty is having your accuracy reduced by nearly 10 times. That's pretty severe. With all of these accuracy changes, it's pretty obvious that DICE is looking to increase, or at least encourage, more skilled shooting in Battlefield 5. By the way, they're also increasing the headshot hitbox multiplier to 1.9. In Battlefield 1, it was 1.7. They're also increasing the size of the head hitbox, and they are totally removing the sweet spot mechanic that they introduced with Battlefield 1. This means headshots are deadlier than they have been before, and snipers looking to finish off players, they must now aim for the head. And lastly for the gunplay, though not specifically about guns, we're going to talk about some melee changes. DICE is looking to try and shift the melee function away from the panic use case that it's got at the moment towards a proper finishing system. The range of melee takedowns activating is twice as short as it was in Battlefield 1. Damage of melee hits in general is now lower, and because of these changes you will now need to get closer to your target before trying to take them down. The other day during playtests I was running around trying to get melee kills from a certain distance, and I thought I was close enough, but I obviously wasn't, and I kept stabbing the guy in the back and doing virtually no damage at all. So really, they have changed up the melee system a bit in this brand new game. Moving away from gunplay now, but sticking with weapons, we're going to talk about the new grenade features of Battlefield 5. Of course, we already know you can pick them up and throw them back, and that they can be shot out of the sky and exploded before the fuse kicks in, but there are a couple of other things I'd like to mention. Depending on the position in which you activate the grenade throw, you can now underhand throw grenades, like rolling them along the ground, as well as using the older standard high throw over the arm. This may prove to be very useful when trying to sneak a grenade through a doorway or around a corner. And secondly, you're also able to completely deflect incoming grenades when they're coming at you, as well as picking them up off the floor and throwing them back. I have no idea of the parameters and situation needed to activate this deflect, but I'm sure somebody will activate it in the first day of the closed alpha, whenever that comes around, and then we can all watch it on YouTube, because I can guarantee that's not going to happen very often. Next, let's talk about spotting. Gone are the days of the Dorito hunt, orange icons all over your screen. DICE is really overhauling this system in Battlefield 5 to make you use your surroundings a hell of a lot more. Now firstly, 3D spotting is almost totally removed from the game. One gadget in the build that I played remained capable of spotting people in the conventional way that I'm sure you're used to by now, and that's using the binoculars for the scout class. If you bring these out and then hit the fire button when looking at an enemy, you can spot them. Also, fully suppressing enemies will now activate the spot icon above those suppressed players. That 3D spotting system that produces the Doritos I was talking about, that has now been fully replaced with a last known location system. That detects what you're spotting and then places a static icon on the screen to mark the place where you saw that thing. So if you spot a tank, the icon will show a tank at that location. If the tank moves, however, the icon will not move with it, and you'll need to take a bit more care if you're in that area. If you spot an enemy player, the icon placed where you spot that player will denote the class the player is running, so you and your squad have a much better idea of what kind of player you are going to end up facing if you go over there. Now I think this has been added to address concerns that Battlefield 5's customization system is going to take away that instant recognizability of class silhouettes at a distance. This icon will give you a little bit of a better idea of what you're going to come up against. Any players that do end up being spotted and getting that little icon over their head, they will now be line of sight checked. This means if that spotted player enters cover or puts an object between you and them, the icon above their head will completely disappear. Now this is a big change for the franchise, and it's awesome to see that DICE finally managed to get that working properly. Moving on briefly to the Fortification system and giving you some further clarity here, you may already know that all classes have access to the toolkit in Battlefield 5 and that the support class has some extra uses with it, but in my previous video I only alluded to more offensive machine gun placements being that added extra. Now as it turns out, supports using the toolkit to build fortifications will also be able to construct AA guns and AT guns at certain locations on different maps. They're also able to build tank stoppers and use heavy-duty materials like concrete and metal. Healing stations and ammo caches can also be constructed using the fortification system. Set locations on flags will be highlighted to you, and should they get destroyed, you can also rebuild them again. And lastly for this video, Battlefield 5 is getting a Battle Royale mode. Now personally, I was hoping EA and DICE wouldn't cave into the latest craze to hit the gaming world. I don't believe that Battlefield and the fundamentals of the Battle Royale mode go together properly, but there we are. It is coming at some point, and it will be coming after the launch of Battlefield 5. That was confirmed on stage by Lars Gustafsson. Other than confirming it will use the core pillars of Battlefield as a franchise, DICE has neglected to say anything else, and we should expect more information moving into the future. They had nothing to show, no working prototype, and they still went and announced they're making a Battle Royale mode. Not sure why they didn't simply just wait until they did have something solid to show off, but I guess we'll see moving forwards in the future, maybe at Gamescom, what's going to come of this Battle Royale mode. But there you are. That's plenty of new Battlefield 5 information for you to digest over the next few weeks. Let me know what you think of all of it down below in the comments section. If you've got any further questions, leave those as well, and I'll try and answer some for you if I've got some information. Apologies for my voice in this video. I think I'm starting to get the EA Play E3 cold already. I seem to come to LA every year now, and I take a cold home with me, and I've already got one this year. Make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications switched on so you don't miss any of my future videos. And until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.